self-help books,
and much more. Get ready for a thorough review, a captivating discussion, an insightful author interview. Welcome to the video podcast show, Attorney Sheila R. Stewart's Book Show.
Hello, and welcome to Attorney Sheila R. Stewart TV. We have an outstanding guest with us on today, a leadership guru. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a business owner? Are you a church leader? Are you someone that's trying to just create a new space of leadership? Well, we have one of the greatest leaders with us on today that can give us a strategic process to help you move your business, to help you move your vision to a new level. And great leaders are critical thinkers. Great leaders are critical thinkers. So, how do we become critical thinkers? How do we become strategic? Well, we have a young lady today that's going to give us some outstanding tips on becoming strategic. Now, you may say, well, I didn't go to school for this. I don't know how to do this. You don't have to go to school. You can learn from individuals that have done the work for you, and you can pull from their experience. So let me tell you about our guest. Felicia Sanders is a proud Chicago graduate, a parent, and she's a retiree. She served as an educator and an administrator in the district for 33.5 years. Her career culminated as chief of schools officer. In that role, she was responsible for managing and supporting Chicago's 18 school networks and independent schools principals, as well as ensuring principal quality and strong school performance across the district. She frequently collaborated with other CPS departments to improve the educational experience for all students. She was a principal for over 9 years. She helped decrease the negative behavior among students. She increased community partnerships and celebrated a substantial increase in achievement and growth scores. As a network chief, she provided and differentiated coaching and guidance to help principals enhance their leadership capacity. She attended Northern Illinois University and holds her master's degree. She also received her superintendent license from the University of Illinois, Chicago, and she also attended the leadership project at Harvard Business School and executive leadership. This young lady just has a very impressive career. And if you want to learn great leadership opportunities, this is the individual you want to talk to. Welcome, Felicia. We are so proud of you, and we are so excited to have you with us on today. How are you today?
Good evening, afternoon, depending on where you're watching. It's a blessing and a pleasure to be here with you, Attorney Stewart. You're somebody that I have admired from afar for many years, and I feel privileged to be with you this afternoon. And you mentioned when you were reading my bio that I'm retired, so I'm in great shape over here in Chicago. Good to be with you this afternoon.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. And I also wanted to add that you're married, you have a beautiful daughter, and your husband is the president of a college as well. So
Yes.
he also has great leadership strategies. So let's just jump right in. for individuals who want to know how to be better and how to do this thing better. Tell us about the different leadership styles and some of the most effective leadership styles.
Thank you. I love talking about leadership and various styles because you have leaders that lead in various places and spaces, and every leader has to know his or her style. And I happen to believe in situational leadership, which says that we must adjust or be flexible with our style based on the team that we're leading, based on the task at hand. And so I am a strong proponent of being flexible with the leadership style. But every leader must know his or her style. And sometimes I found that leaders have a style and they stay within that style. And that is can be dangerous because as new people join your team or as you are building a new team, your style has to be somewhat fluid to accommodate the people that you're leading. If you're leading, very experienced people who can work autonomously, then they don't need as much support and as much guidance. But if you've got a brand new team, if you're in corporate and you got somebody fresh out of college, they come thinking that they know everything that there is to know, but we have to be able to train and develop them. And so leaders must, first of all, know their style. And there are so many leadership gurus out there, so many leadership theorists and authors, and many of us have probably studied their work. But some of this just the basic ones that we're all familiar with. You've got the autocratic leader who wants to do everything his or her way and is really open to input from others. And the thing about being an autocratic leader, when that's the only way you function, you will stifle your individuals that you're leading and not allow their creativity or their good ideas to come forth, and they can be a benefit to the organization. Then, of course, you have the Democratic leader who believes in getting all the input from the team, working together, building relationships. And I happen to flow quite a bit in the Democratic leadership vein because I believe in inviting the voices of the people that I lead. And my grandmother had a saying, she would say, God didn't give one person all the sense. So leaders have to be open to others and the gifts and talents and the skills and the knowledge that they bring to the team. Because hopefully, if you've hired great people, and so you want to utilize the gifts and talents that they have. And I'm always concerned when I observe a laissez-faire leader who is laissez-faire all the time. Because first of all, you're allowing people to do whatever they want to do, and you kind of lay back and you kind of sit back. Some people don't like to say the laissez-faire leaders are lazy. I won't say that. I'll just say they're laid back. But there are times when you've got emergent issues, critical issues that need guidance. And if you're laissez-faire all the time, then you will not step up and provide that guidance that's needed. In addition, when you're bringing on new people, they have to be trained and developed. Or even as people who may be experienced in one area, if they join your team that's focused on an area where they have not been working, you've got to train them, lead them, coach them, develop them, mentor them. And so the laissez-faire style doesn't always work well with everyone. You've got the transformational leader, the transactional leader, focused just on task at hand. And then I like to live in the servant leadership world where leaders are walking alongside the team. Is not I'm the great one, the powerful one, and you're just over there. It is us walking together. It is us developing shared leadership, developing a shared vision, and implementing that vision together. And so again, I believe in situational leadership because depending on who the team is and what the task at hand are and what the overall goals of the organization of those organization are, then sometimes you've got to be able to be fluid and flexible and adjust your style based on the factors and the people at hand. So I'll pause right there, but I could talk about that for an hour.
Well, that's very interesting. I want to just go back to the laissez-faire leader.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that leadership is can be challenging for the members on the team?
It can be challenging because let's say that there's an overarching goal that everyone is trying to achieve. There'll be some people who are self-starters, they're self-motivated, and they're experienced, and they'll chart a path to get to the intended outcome. But if you have a new person on the team, or someone new to the department, or just someone brand new to working, period, if we don't provide them the guidance that they need and kind of help navigate a pathway to success for them, then you won't know what you're going to end up with. If the goals are not clear, if the path forward to success is not clear, then the laissez-faire leader just allows you to figure it out and do it on your own. And for somebody like you and me, we're going to do that.
Mhm.
Success has to be my ultimate goal and where I land. But you have some people who are not driven. And if they're not driven and they have a laissez-faire leader, they're going to just kind of live in any way the wind blows is cool with me world. And when
Mhm.
you're leading and you're working toward success and you're working toward high impact goals and outcomes, the laissez-faire leader generally will not get every member of the team there. So that's why I point that one out.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think they can get them there either, but I tend to see that style of leadership when you have more successful people on a team.
Yes,
And I think that regardless to how successful or effective the team members are, there needs to be high impact goals and there needs to be a strategy for reaching those goals.
absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes with the laissez-faire leader, and this is not me putting down any leader who operates in the laissez-faire vein, I think there are times when we can be there.
Mhm.
The team that I just led before retirement, they were high performing members on the team. Many of them have worked with me for a number of years. So it's like we can have a quick check in and give them vision and guidance, and they can go. And so then we're just checking in. They did not need to be micromanaged, nor did they need me, hand holding or anything like that. But depending on the task, I could just give it to them and they could go. But the culture that we developed was such that it allowed for that. And so
Mhm.
if you don't have a culture where people feel welcomed to bring their ideas and their input, if they're not welcome to flow in a vein that works for them, then you don't know what you're going to get at the end of the day. So I always weave organizational culture into this conversation because I think it's so critical. And leaders must be intentional about establishing a culture where people can thrive as they're working every day. If we're talking, the world of work, and we're working in the marketplace or in corporate, people come to work because they generally need to work.
Mhm.
It's great when we can enjoy it. I worked for the Chicago Public Schools for 34 years. I enjoyed every job that I had. There were
Wow.
challenges along the way, but I'm going to say this, I was blessed to have positions that I enjoyed every step of the way. But when the challenging times came, I was able to lean on what I knew. And sometimes I worked in a culture that was healthy, and sometimes I didn't. When I was leading, however, I was very intentional about the culture, about having a culture where people did not feel that they had to compete with one another. We didn't have the crabs in the barrel mentality where
Mhm.
I cannot share my practices with my colleague who's doing the same kind of work because I don't want that colleague to outshine me. No, we didn't want that. We wanted a culture where people enjoyed sharing, coming together and sharing
Mhm.
ideas and sharing their own leadership strategies as they worked in different areas of the city. So go back to the point, if we have a culture that invites collaboration, that invites collegiality, that invites people working together and becoming successful together, then we will all move and sync that way, and we'll all get to the outcomes that we're looking to looking to attain at the end of the day.
Wow, that's excellent. That's excellent. Very I mean, I was thinking in terms of critical thinking. You said something about critical thinking and intentional. I think one of the reasons why teams become stagnated because we have to create more critical thinkers on the team.
Mhm.
People, in my observation, they're just not critical thinkers. They're just really one dimensional in how they see things and
Yes.
how they feel. How do we move? How do we change the environment, the organizational structure, the organizational culture? Excuse me, the organizational culture wherever we are, business, entrepreneurship, the church, to create critical thinkers?
Well, culture, first of all, is like the wind. It's
Mhm.
invisible, but you can feel it. When you walk into the room or into the environment where this organization is, you can sense what's going on. Culture is not something that you're going to find written in the onboarding manual or in the the documents from the talent office or from HR, whatever it's called in that particular organization. You won't find the culture written. But when you step in and you begin to work in that environment, you can feel what the culture is. So it's like the wind. And this was written, Brian Walker, I want to quote it right. Brian Walker and Sarah Soul from a Harvard Business Review talked about culture being like the wind. When it's blowing in your direction, it makes for smooth sailing. But when it's blowing against you, everything is more difficult. So when we have a culture that breeds critical thinking, then we're going to develop more critical thinkers. So, in
Mhm.
other words, as the leader comes together with the team, creates a shared vision, thinks about the goals, the high impact goals, and helps to determine, chart the course for getting to those goals, how people operate within the organization, moving toward those goals is very important. And so having a leadership style that is a servant leadership style, that is a democratic leadership style, autocratic when necessary for like some quick things that need to be turned around, but bringing all those transactional, transformational leadership styles, bringing all those styles together in the culture, it allows people to understand, first of all, what the goals are, what the expectations are, and what the pathway to success is. And along that journey, then the leader is looking at who's on the team. There's a whole presentation I do on organizational culture, and thinking about who's on the team is important. You have to know your members. You have to know the gifts and talents they bring. You have to know the challenging areas that they have professionally and personally. You have to be able to tap into who they are as individuals, right? So when I know who's on my team, then I'll know where I have to, what my inroad is to helping to develop them to be more critical thinkers. Some people bring that to the table,
Mhm.
others do not. And so as the leader, it is my charge to understand who's on my team. And when I know that Sheila is a critical thinker, I can meet with her 10 minutes, she's gotten this and she can go. And I realize that Miss Sally Sue is not that critical thinker, then I have to make sure that I'm intentional about spending time with her, helping to develop a pathway for success with her input, capitalizing on where she's strong, and then identifying her areas of opportunity, and then helping to shore up those areas of opportunity. We all have them.
Mhm.
None of us are, super at everything. But when I know my team members, I can either partner a team member who's lower performing in an area with someone who's higher performing in an area and allow them to walk together. So then this person is being coached and mentored by someone who's high performing, or if that's a task I'm going to take on, just depending on who it is and what their role is and what my role is at the time. But developing critical thinkers has to be intentional. It cannot be haphazard.
Okay. That's excellent. We're going to do two parts with you. So this is part one, and we're going to bring you back to do a part two because this information that you are sharing today is just outstanding. And Miss Sanders is a young lady that has written several articles on leadership. And so this is an individual that has penned her thoughts, penned her analysis on how we can be better. So it is just a pleasure and an honor to have you on this platform today where you can just share this level of detailed information to help us to become better. Now, how do you deal with difficult people? What's your advice for dealing with difficult people?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. And I think if we've worked in leadership anytime, we've all dealt with these individuals. First of all, we have to, again, going back to knowing who's on your team, we have to know them beyond their resume. So if there's a difficult person on the team And let me just say, this is not an exhaustive list of things to consider, just some things from my own experience. First of all, having the conversation. Leaders have to be courageous. We cannot be afraid to confront. And I don't mean be confrontational, but we have to be willing to confront the issues at hand. And so if there's a difficult person on the team, we have to deal with that because, first of all, the rest of the team is watching how we're going to handle it, how we're going to manage it, right? How we're going to lead the team with this difficult person. So every step we make during this with this individual is going to be observed by the rest of the team, and somebody's going to be making a list and checking it twice, right? So we want to make sure that we, first of all, deal with the matter. I believe in having an initial conversation, being very private conversation. I've never believed in having and addressing these matters publicly. Never in all my years of leadership. There have been a couple of times where people have brought it to me publicly. And if I try to adjust the conversation to shift it to a private setting, and that happened in all cases except one, then I just had to deal with it very quickly, very briefly, and move on. But having that private conversation to get to the root of the matter, what is, it seems to me, being very professional all the time, it seems as if I'm noticing or I'm observing, I would identify the behaviors or the comments if they've been made, and then ask, am I on target with that? Have I observed that appropriately? Did I misread the situation? If the individual comes forth and say, well, yeah, that's it. Then I want to find out why the person feels that way, why they're behaving in the manner that they're behaving in. Sometimes the person is upset because you got the job and they wanted the job. Sometimes they're upset because you had the credentials to have the leadership role. They did not, and they're just jealous and they don't know how to handle that. Sometimes they're cantankerous just because of their own personal life. Sometimes they have challenges and they're difficult to deal with because they generally like working in isolation, and you want them to work with a team and they don't want to work with the team. Sometimes people are set in their ways, but we have to address that in a conversation. And at the end of the day, if we can find out what the pain point is, then we can together try to create a way to deal with that. Sometimes they won't identify it, they won't acknowledge their pain point. Sometimes they'll say there's nothing wrong. Then in that case, we have to put some parameters around the individual and around the work, always maintaining our professionalism, but setting boundaries and parameters would be critical, because generally if a person, and this is my experience, if a person is difficult to deal with, their very presence upsets the team. And when the person is not there, the team is happy. Or if the person is asked to do something outside of the teamwork, the team is happy because they don't feel the tension that this difficult person brings. And leaders must be willing to address it head on and say, listen, I'm noticing this and I've gotten some concerns from the team. We cannot allow that. And so I believe in trying to work with the individual, trying to invite his or her voice to the table to create the path forward. But when all of that doesn't work, sometimes a person needs to be counseled out. Perhaps another department is a better fit. Perhaps another leader is a better fit, because guess what? I'm the leader today. Now, I might not be the leader next week, but today I am. And today this is the team. And I really want you to work well with us. But if in fact you realize that after all we've tried, this is not the best fit for you, I'm willing to assist you in identifying a better fit. Sometimes we have to be willing to have that conversation, understanding. Now, this is after we've exhausted all of our ways of trying to help the individual feel included, be collaborative, all of those things. And let me tell you, leaders, it takes a lot of energy from you to do that. But it's worth it if the person is valuable to your team. It's worth you going the extra mile. But I also want to say this: you cannot exhaust all of your energy on this one individual.
Absolutely.
And so a leader must determine how much space, how much runway I'm going to give to this. And then you have to know, was that Kenny Rogers song? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You have to know when you have to shift as a leader with a particular individual, because some people, they wake up every day deciding how they're going to come and be difficult. We don't have time for that. So
Mm-hmm.
once you've done all that you can do, be courageous enough to take the next step. And whatever that next step is, helping that person find another place, work with another department, another area, or moving out of the organization. Because remember
Mm-hmm.
this, everybody has a choice. A young lady said to me many years ago, everybody has the same 24 hours. And what you do with your 24 hours is up to you. We can never make a person conform or be willing to work with us. We can give it our best shot as leaders, employ all the strategies we know. And when it's all said and done, you can go to sleep at night knowing you did your very best. And it's time for them to move on and shift to another area.
Yeah. And it's another question I wanted. That's phenomenal, and I appreciate that response. It was very thoughtful and very intentional in terms of your analysis for our viewers, and I appreciate this. As you know, I'm an attorney, and I handle employment law cases. And when I meet an individual that calls my office and they've worked 3 months and they're terminated, 6 months and they're terminated. Uh, they can't get to 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And then you see an individual like yourself that made it 33 years, 34 years on a job, and then in your position you were continuously being elevated, exalted into greater and greater roles. And Chicago is what, the second largest school district or the third?
It had been the third for many years. We just went to the fourth largest district. I think Miami-Dade had a few more students, and so we went to move down to the fourth largest district this year.
Okay, but while
Mhm.
you were there, it was
The
the
third,
third
third
largest.
to New York and LA.
Right. And so when you think about the capacity to work in this environment for 30 years and to constantly be promoted and not get terminated, whereas you have a lot of individuals that get terminated 12 months, 6 months, 3 years, what advice would you give to individual for job sustainability?
Thank you for that, and I have enjoyed talking about that a lot. When I was a teenager working, my father told us, my siblings and I, go to work every day. Go to work every day. Go early every day. That's the first step. You got to show up for work. As I was ending my career, realizing a lot of the newer people coming on, I never saw such horrible attendance. Let me tell you all, attendance matters. You
Mhm.
got to go to, I don't care which area you're working in. You have to go to work every day. The boss has to know that he or she can count on you being there. And when we
Mhm.
look at various evaluation tools, in some form or another, accountability is there. And that's just not about your performance, but your dependability speaks to your accountability. If you
Mhm.
are not dependable, and I'm got to wonder every day if you're going to show up to work, that's a problem. And I'm telling you, I was one who was very particular about attendance because we have work that we have to do, right?
Mhm.
So now life happens to us all, and so it's important to go to work every day because if by chance life does happen, a death, a birth, caring for a loved one, a parent, or an accident, people can, your leader will know will give you consideration because the leader knows that when you were not outside of that particular challenging circumstance, you came to work every day. So the first one is come to work every day and be on time. The
Mhm.
other one is to do your work. Don't be at the water cooler all day. You've got to get your work done. Whatever has been assigned to you that you agreed. Most jobs give you an offer letter, and it talks about what your salary is going to be, but also what you're expected to do. You got to go to work and do that.
Mhm.
And so and these seem so simplistic, but it's been alarming to me with the number of younger people that were moving into the workforce that don't want to go to work, that don't go on time, and that don't want to who don't want to do the job. The other thing is you have to be thinking about what your future goals are. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years on down the line? And I know while I stayed with one company for my entire career, I know that there are others who move around because their promotions come from different, moving to different companies depending on the field they're in.
Mhm.
Whatever field you're in, you should always have an idea of where you want to go next. I mean, actually having that long-term goal, where do you want to be when you retire? And then backwards mapping from there to know what it is you need to do to be able to move up. And then making sure you're prepared. If you need to go back to school for another degree or for another certification or another credential, be about the business of doing that before the opportunity comes. One thing about it, and God gets the glory for this, every time an opportunity came, I had the necessary credential
Mm.
and the experience. So then I was able to either apply, or after being asked to apply, to then apply and go through the interview process to then accept the next level up. But it's important that individuals are thinking about, what is your future? Do you want to be in this particular role for the next 30 years? Or are you looking to do, and it's okay if that's what you want to do, but know what kind of money you're thinking about, the fact that you'll need to make, and what you need to do to get there. So let me go back. Being at work every day, showing up early every day, doing the work that you've agreed to do, because when you signed that offer letter, you were not only agreeing to that salary, you were agreeing to that particular work. Do that work, think about your long-term goals, and backwards map from there, and make sure that you're getting the necessary educational background, experience, credentials, certifications, whatever else you need, so when the opportunity comes, you're able to apply and walk through the door. Now, let me tell you something else, Attorney Stewart. As a person who had to hire many people, and then many high-level people, high-functioning people, C-suite people, being on those interview teams, the way you show up for an interview matters. Do not ever take the interview process for granted or take it lightly. If you're invited to an interview, bring your A game every time.
Mhm.
Every single time. And I'm saying this even as I interview people within the last year or two, and these were for high level positions. Some people brought their A game and some people did not. And I'm not going to say every employer is like me, but I felt like if you didn't think enough of this interview to prepare for it, then you probably won't think enough of the work if you get the job. Now, some
Mhm.
people might not think like me, but I know a
That's
lot of people
absolutely
do.
correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
So if you didn't dress the part, look the part, do your homework on the organization to prepare for the interview, you might not get the job. So when we talk about sustainability, every interview, and I was happy my last 2 or 3 interviews for my last positions, my daughter was old enough to watch me. I got a high promotion during the pandemic. She watched
Mhm.
me for hours prepare. I would actually write the questions that I thought they were going to ask me and type out their answers. So, and generally they asked me something related to some of those questions, but I reviewed them, I rehearsed that because I wanted the job. And so
Mhm.
I showed up for the interview. You're talking about sustainability. I showed up for the interview ready to get the job. And if they happened to ask me something that I had not covered, I read enough to be able to speak to whatever they asked me, because it was important to me to show up like I deserved the job and that I was ready for the job. And so that's how I was able to make it, being
Mhm.
ready, being prepared, being professional every day. We want to be relational, and there's a place for relationships, but you must be professional every day that you go to work. Never in the gossip center, even and in every organization I'm in, I never know all the gossip because that's not who I am. I'm about
Mhm.
the business, right? So, but being prepared and professional every single day. You never know when you go to work who's going to be there, what changes are going to occur, when the new
Mhm.
leader is going to come in. You have to make your way and make yourself visible to the new person for the right reasons. The fact that you're professional, you're a high performer, and you're somebody who is dependable. If you're dependable, my dad used to say to us, nobody gets rid of the best thing they got. You got to be the best person on that job. You've got to work so that nobody can do your job better than you, period.
Mhm. Wow.
And you'll be sustained in the workforce.
I love it. Nobody gets rid of the best thing they got. I love it. That's awesome. You have done a tremendous job, tremendous information. I mean, you're just like a computer. I mean, you can just shoot it out. And we are so grateful for you. Will you come back and do a part 2 for us?
Absolutely.
Leadership.
Absolutely.
We need this because I think it's correlated to how we live, your leadership style, your business style. It's correlated to so many things in life. And we appreciate your information. You have been watching Attorney Sheila R. Stewart TV. We have had with us on this evening the one and only, the business guru, the leadership guru herself, Mrs. Felicia Sanders, who hails all the way from Chicago, Illinois. We are so grateful for her. We want you to continue to follow us on all of our platforms. We're reaching millions. We appreciate you following our stories or our shows and just keeping up with us. Continue to follow us, Attorney Sheila R. Stewart TV. Thank you and have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.